Welcome to Beyond the Voices, a podcast where impactful conversations spark change, amplify unheard stories, and inspire actions. Here, we give voices to the change makers, the dreamers, the doers, and those who
Have you been through something that changed you? A moment that tested your strength? A journey that awakened your voice? A story that the world needs to hear? This is your invitation. Voice Masters Global is calling you, yes, you, to be part of something greater. We're curating a life changing global anthology and we're seeking real people with real stories, stories of courage, breakthrough, healing, resilience, and transformation. Your truth could be the light that someone else is desperately searching for. This is more than a book. This is a movement, a global platform where your voice will rise among other powerful voices from across the world. This is your moment to speak, to share, to be heard. So if you've overcome, and if you've learned, and if you've lived through pain, joy, love, loss, and came out with wisdom to share, we want to hear from you. Call us today at 954-744-9599 or email us at vm@voicemasters.biz. Let your voice become your legacy. Join the Voice Masters Global Anthology. Your story matters. Your voice has power, and the world is waiting.
Welcome. Oh my goodness. It's such a joy to be here this evening. Welcome to Beyond the Voices podcast, where impact meets inspiration. Okay, so we are going to be hosting here today none other than Charlene Clarkura and myself, Andrea Adams. Today we'll be talking about something that affects so many people. Guess what that is? It's the truth about finding your voice. So many people stay silent because they believe that their story isn't important, but guess what? The truth is, there's someone in this world who needs to hear what you've been through. So today I'm joined by Charlene, and together we're going to be exploring the power of owning your story and using your voice to inspire change.
Exactly, exactly. Thank you so much, Andrew. It's wonderful to be here. I've been out of the loop a little bit, not been, so much into on the social media platform, been doing a lot of things, but here we are today, Andrew. And it gives us pleasure to always come together to sit and talk about your voice because listen, we all have a voice. We all have a voice. And there are times when we silence ourselves, believing that people would not want to hear us. Have you ever felt like your voice didn't matter? I felt like that before. And I'm sure, Andrea, have you ever felt like that? Like your
Oh,
voice
yes.
didn't matter?
Oh, yes, I have.
We
I think, especially young people when you're in your primary stage of life, especially then.
And then when you feel like that, you feel as though your story wasn't important enough to share. Like the truth is though your story. But before I tell you what the truth is, sometimes you feel as though your story is not important to share or you're too embarrassed to share your story. It all depends on what your story is like, what the script is like. And many of us are too embarrassed to share our story because we believe that our story belongs to us. Truth be told, though, your story is can be used to motivate someone else. Your story can be shared so other persons will understand that, hey, I'm not in this alone. It's normal. Other persons are going through it. Because guess what? Some people believe as though what they're experiencing, no other person have experienced that before. And they sometimes fall into the abyss of what I call depression, the abyss of depression, with no hope of surviving. And when you share your story, you cannot imagine the amount of lives you would have saved. The truth is, your voice could be that very thing someone else needs to hear to keep going. And so, tonight, this evening, we'll be talking about the truth about finding your voice.
Oh, yes. So, what are we doing next, Charlene? I know we have probably have some deep questions that we need to reflect on. And I'm
Mhm.
sure that as we think about these questions, our listening audience might find themselves thinking, hey, I probably thought of this too. So
Mhm.
let's
Mhm.
dive into it.
So let us have a discussion, you and I, and let us not have the discussion as though we are the founders of Voice Masters. Let us have this discussion as Andrea and Charlene. Let us have this discussion before we found our voice. Let us have this discussion as though we are now realizing that our voice matter. Because why I want us to do it this way, Andrea, and you can agree or disagree, it's us, is sometimes people will say because you're doing it, you don't understand it. So let us do it this way before we understood it. So let us share with them what the process, that we went through before we understood it. Because you really have to go through a process before you understand that process. And sometimes it takes someone else or a whole lot of persons to help you to understand the process. But while you're going through it, you might not understand it. So, what
Mhm.
happens to a person when they silence their voice for far too long? Andrea, what happens to Andrea? What happens to Charlene? What happens to a person when their voice is silenced for far too long?
Oh, I just love this. Okay, I'm just getting like, if you could have seen, I have just goosebumps just thinking about it because from my own experience, I know that I was silenced. A lot of my pain was actually buried under that plaster of silence.
Mm-hmm.
And when you are silenced for too long, you can actually, it can be a form of self destruction. You could
Mm-hmm.
mentally disrupt yourself, mentally destroy yourself, because when you're unable to express yourself, you are not able to live in a space of genuine fulfillment.
Exactly. Exactly. I like that one.
Oh yes. So from my experience, I know that I was silenced due to abuse. And some people might be, oh, it happened when you was a child. It's so long ago. Like,
Get over
you
it.
seem okay and all of that. But they don't
Yeah.
understand that you may not, especially when you're unable to speak about it, there's so much doubt. There's so
Mm-hmm.
much anxiety and fear that came out of not saying anything. And
Mm-hmm.
though I was not, in some cases when abuse happens, some people are physically harmed in a way that they are unable to, they're physically destroyed. I wasn't, but still, the emotional aspect of it, it was so heavy because I didn't understand. I was too young to really understand what was happening to me, but I knew that it was not a good thing. And
Mm-hmm.
the emotional disruption that happens with it, especially when you do not have a trusted person you can speak to.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you do have a trusted person, but you still don't know how.
How? Mm-hmm.
When you're unable to speak up, it's extremely painful. It's like
Mm-hmm.
being under pressure, like in that pressure cooker. And guess what
Mm-hmm.
happens when you're in a pressure cooker? Everything liquefies, and then eventually, at one point or the other, guess what's going to happen? It's going to blow.
Blow. Mm-hmm. It's going to explode. And
Hmm.
that is what you have to control, because when you get to the point of explosion, there's no control. That
Exactly.
explosion means destruction. And that is
Exactly.
what happens when you're silenced for far too long. I like it
So, what about
because
you?
you are completely destroyed, because it's like you're suppressing all that you've been through. You're suppressing everything, and it boils over. And then when it boils over, that's when there's no point to, you know, that safe space you spoke about before. And you said something too, Andrea. Sometimes you are contemplating whether or not people you're speaking with are honest, or they are mature enough to understand your emotions and to understand your story, to understand your experience, to have some kind of respect for that, and to treat it with care and empathy. And those are some of the reasons why people silence themselves. And note how we say it: the world does not silence you. You silence yourself, because you still do have a choice. You have a choice to
Yes.
go against what the world is telling you to do. And the world meaning could be your church community, could be your home, could be, whatever, whomever you're surrounded by could be your world. And if you allow that to silence you, then you're the one who is silencing yourself. You always have a choice, right?
Okay, quickly, I see Mr. Miller in the chat is saying I'm not getting any feed. I can you just let us know if you're able to hear us clearly at this point, or is it the same?
Yeah, let us know if you're hearing us, because we're on.
This is on YouTube.
It's on YouTube. So let us know if you're hearing us. Right. Just put in the chat, and for all those other persons who are on, let us know, because we're
So
live
put
and we're
on in the chat.
seeing.
Awesome.
Awesome. So they're hearing us.
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you very much. And thank you, Mr. Miller. Please, audience, it's not just Andrew and I. have a conversation with us. Let us have a healthy conversation. We'll not be on for too long, and you don't want to miss the opportunity to ask your questions. All right, Andra, the next thing that I want us us to speak about is, do you think, and perhaps I should answer this, I don't know, but do you think people are born confident in their voice, or is it something that they develop through life experience? It's like asking the same question: do you think leaders are born or leaders are created? It's similar to that. Do you think people are born with the confidence in their voice, or is it something that they develop based on the experience, life experience?
I have my thoughts on it, but I think you should go first. And Stephen, thank you so much for always supporting. Yes, loud and clear. You can hear us. I put you on the spot for Charlene.
Well, it's twofold. I believe it's twofold. Confidence in your voice is really something people are simply born with, though, right? While some individuals may naturally feel more confident, or more comfortable speaking or expressing themselves, true confidence is something that is developed. True confidence in your voice is truly developed through your experience. Think about growing up from childhood stage to adulthood, or there is a between adulthood, adolescence, and think about how you used to approach, how you express yourself, and your expression of self would be determined by your experience, and your confidence would also be determined by your experience as well. So our experiences, both the successes and the struggles, shape what we believe about ourselves and whether we feel safe to speak up. Sometimes people lose confidence because they've been criticized, they've been ignored, or they've been told that their voice doesn't matter. But the beautiful thing about it, though, Andrea, is that confidence can be rebuilt and strengthened over time. Because people would think that once you're confident in voice, it remains like that. No, it can be broken down because of the experience you've had while being confident with your voice, the experience, someone telling you, oh no, you don't sound good, oh no, that story was not supposed to be shared, oh no, that kind of a thing. And that confidence is broken, but then it can be strengthened again as people grow, as people heal and begin to recognize the value of their story. They often discover that their voice has the power. So when you start sharing your experiences and see how your words can inspire or help someone else, that's when real confidence begin to grow. What say it you?
Well, you basically answered the question quite similar to the same thing I had in mind, but I would have been going more to say that I believe that people are naturally born speakers.
Mm-hmm.
Now, based on what I've studied and read, I understand that one of the greatest fears they have is there are six different fears that humans face. And one of the six greatest fears is the fear of criticism. Now, public speaking falls under the fear of criticism because most people are afraid to speak up because they're afraid of what other people would think, what other people's opinion are, etc. So naturally, a child is curious. Naturally, in our nature, it is our nature to try to survive. It's our nature to try to learn. It's our nature to try to grow, and it's our nature just basically to to be inclined to higher learning. That's our nature. Unfortunately, society has taught us, hey, no, we're going to tell you how to do it. Don't speak, don't do this, don't do that. We have been faced from the time we are kids, we have been faced with what I would say paradigms. These are boundaries that we've been put into, which comes from our beliefs that we've been given. We have been placed into these paradigms, and part of those paradigms is what causes us not to have that confidence naturally in a psychological way to be able to speak freely, but it's in our innate nature to speak. That's why we were given a voice. However, society and our churches, our parents, government, everybody, they've given us this certain, I would say, s- certain milestones to live by, and some of that actually boxes us in and make us afraid to really and truly express ourselves, because we really don't have any. As much as they say we do have freedom of speech, we don't. From a child, when you go to school, no, you can't speak, you got to raise your hand, you can't do this.
I
You're
like
talking to parents, parents are like, oh, this is adult conversation, kids should not be part of it, be quiet. The truth
yes,
is, we've been told too often as kids to
too
be quiet
often, too often.
when we were naturally given this gift to speak. So, yes, I do believe that we can all be confident speakers, but I believe that there were too many boundaries that kept us from being able to freely express ourselves.
Mhm,
Hence, we were taught differently to stay quiet, only speak in
mhm.
certain things. Even as we grow older, you can't say certain things because it might offend people, and the list goes on.
Hmm. And
So
so
we,
we have to be careful how we raise our own children and those whom we engage, right? Because if
yes,
you see, because our parents were raised that way, their parents were raised that way, it carries on. But you have to
oh
break
yes,
it. You have to. I can tell you, I broke it, and I know you broke it as well, right?
oh
But
yeah,
you have to realize and break it, because when you do that, you're raising a society of people who lack confidence, lack voice. And if you, and I like what you said too, Andrew, that we're living based on the prescription that is prescribed to us by society. And so we've been medicating ourselves with the prescription, without understanding that we never need the medicine. We didn't need the medicine, right? And sometimes what you need to do is go against the grain. And so you recognize that it's not everything you hear you need to follow, because sometimes the things that you follow are not things that will help you to develop, to grow, to become better. There are things to keep you in line. Another thing I like that you said to Andrea is freedom. We like to talk about freedom of speech at the workplace, freedom of speech at home, freedom of speech in public sphere. Freedom of what?
yeah,
You
we
don't
don't have
have
it.
freedom of speech. You have to always curtail what you say, because there is always a consequence. If you say
Mhm.
the wrong thing at the wrong place at the wrong time, you are going to be held accountable. And the level of the accountability will depend on who is hearing and what you said.
Exactly. So you see, we are innately confident speakers, but society and beliefs and things have actually led us to curtail what we our natural born gift, the gift of speech.
Exactly. Gifts of speech. And before we go into Android, seems like we're gonna be here forever. We have to really, because
You said 30 minutes.
when we start talking, But before we go into the next question, though, because it's not really teaching. It's not really just telling you about voice masters. It's also having a discussion, yes, so you can understand where we're coming from. Where does voice master stand in all of this? We've spoken about confidence in voice, and then we've spoken about whether or not you confidence in your voice is created by birth, or you're born with it, or it's developed through life experience. So how does voice master matter in this? Where do we stand in all of this? And I can say to you that that is why we're here, because sometimes you don't know that your voice has value. And because we've been there, we all have been there, not just us here, but we all have been there. However, we have recognized what is happening, and so we decided to create voice masters, not to fool you by telling you that you have freedom of speech, but to encourage you to use your voice because your voice matter.
Yes, yes. So deleted channel is saying it's all in the environment and the teacher. No one is born to lead. I can
Repeat.
challenge that too in a little way, but yeah, I believe that we somehow are could be in it leaders because, but this is just, of course, everything is just based on opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we didn't get here by chance, we fight
Mm-hmm.
to to get to that egg to thing. I believe that somehow innately in us we have an innate nature to survive and to think.
Mm-hmm.
And once we have started to move through society, meet our parents and meet those in our society, grandparents, teachers, pastors, everybody, they stop us from thinking. They tell us that thinking is not the correct way. That's just my own personal opinion. They
Mm-hmm.
tell us here, 1 + 1 is 2, and that's it. Don't ask any other questions.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I believe that we were given thoughts for a reason, which is the most potent form of energy. we were we're innately inclined to try to survive and think of ways to survive. If we are starving, innately we would think, hey, maybe I need to go to that store and steal some food, whatever it is to survive. But we start to think, we start to take hold and lead our life because I believe naturally it's in us. It's just that we don't exercise it. But again, that is a personal opinion and it's not something that is set in stone. That's just my own personal belief.
All right. Yes. And let me not, add to that. You said it, but there is the same person, deleted channel, asks the question, what is the main project of Voice Masters? So Voice Masters, and I believe we will, I think, Andrew, we will put our webpage below so you can go to our webpage. But Voice Masters Global exists to empower individuals to discover, develop, and use their voices to inspire, influence, and impact the world. Its purpose is to create a supportive platform where people can share their stories, grow in confidence, and become powerful communicators and leaders, right? So we empower voices, we share stories, we develop speakers, we create that community where you're always growing, we inspire change. So that is what Voice Masters is about, ensuring that, persons who align with us one way or the other because we have different programs, but in essence, it's for individuals to become powerful communicators and leaders and to become confident as well. So it's not just for persons who want to become speakers. You might very well not need that kind of exposure. But let's say you're a teacher, right, Andrea? Let's say you're
Mhm.
a teacher. You are required to give a presentation about some topic about global warming, right? And you have the jitters. Now, if you align with Voice Masters, if you register for one of our programs, it teaches you how to build that confidence, how to speak without fear. And the next thing too is do not believe that fear will not exist. What we teach you to do is to manage the fear. Because even myself, yesterday, yesterday I had a function. I was a speaker at a function, one of the speakers at a function, and I tell everyone without shame, because we don't pretend, that every time I have to grace the stage, there is some sort of nervousness because we're human beings. So even those persons who speaks eloquently, and I believe we do as well, and have the experience, why it is for me? Because every time I grace the stage and I'm looking at the audience, they're not the same. I am not speaking to the same people. They're always different people. And so I am there thinking, will they listen? Will they participate? Will they find it engaging? And so all of that brought nervousness and a little fear. Now, how to manage that? I won't tell you. You will have to book one of Voice Masters program, book a call with us because that's what we do. We teach you how to manage that to be effective and efficient. All
Yeah, it's
right.
amazing that you said that. And while you were speaking, one of the things that crossed my mind too was like just now I was looking at deleted channels uh, statement in terms of no one is born to lead. One of the things that when you're a public speaker, one of the greatest things that actually causes you to be afraid to speak to is actually other people's opinion, because sometimes I could have kept my own opinion and just lean onto your opinion because I might be afraid of, what is it that you would think if I express myself truly? But one of the things that we teach you at Voice Masters is to stand in your own truth and to know that you don't know everything,
Mm-hmm.
but you're just stating stuff from your heart. You're
Mm-hmm.
stating things to the best that you know. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the best way to become a great speaker is just to speak of that what you know to the best of your
Ability.
ability.
Mm-hmm.
Be open to other people's criticism, because people will always have different views and different opinions about things. And the minute you're able to accept that, then even if someone say, "Hey, Andrea, I didn't agree with what you said," you can still take it with grace. You can still accept that criticism and take time to reflect. Maybe after the presentation, you can reflect on what is it the person saying. Say to yourself, you know what, maybe I need to learn a little bit more on this subject. But when you are open to learning more and understanding that it's okay for you to have your opinion, then it helps you to become a more confident speaker, because you would no longer be afraid of other people's opinion or their
Mm-hmm.
criticism. You would take criticism as something where, or a place where you can actually grow.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree with that. And and do remember too that other people's experiences should not be yours. You can learn from other people's experience, but because someone went through a particular situation, you should not own it to say, well, then I am going to experience the same very thing. No, your experience is different from mine. However, because there is some sort of similarity, you can learn from my experience based on the fact that I'm confident enough to share my story with you. All right. We would you believe that it's already 30 minutes? I want to close off. We want to we just decided to engage with you to share a little bit about your voice and stories and being confident. And the next question that is up is how can people turn their personal struggles? And this is for you, Andrew. How can people turn their struggles into a message that can empower, motivate, inspire, and encourage others? How is that possible? How can you tell me that I should be inspired, empowered, motivated, ready to go based on the fact that you went through this dismal experience? How can your experience, my experience, our experience help others to make a turn for the better?
Okay, so as well, one of the modules I teach in the course is the power of storytelling.
Mhm.
And I genuinely personally believe that when you're able to share your experience with others, it can really and truly help them. Sometimes you're telling your story, you don't know who is it that you're helping. Sometimes you are called for a greater purpose to help one person. It might be just one person that you're helping to change their life with your story. So your story, as long as you have healed, because I believe that you should have healed from that story before you tell it,
Mhm.
that as long as you've reached to that journey where you've accepted it and you've healed, now you can tell it's something that can give you freedom mentally. It can take you from that bondage that we were talking about earlier, that pressure which you feel
Mhm.
when you're unable to speak your story. And it can also help people. It can help someone who has been waiting for that story in order to get the breakthrough that they needed for their own life. And I see deleted channel. I really do appreciate you. Thank you so much for just staying here with us. Now, what do you personally do before a speech? That is also in the course, but we're going to give you a little
A
tip. I'm going to
little
share
bit, just a little
personal
bit.
personal experience. Like Charlene say, I get nervous too. I could speak 20 times in a day and I still get nervous before every time I speak. So what do I do personally? One of the things I tend to do is I try to be relaxed as much as I could, not have too much going on before I go on stage, whether it's virtual or in person. One of the other things that I believe that works really well is doing that countdown and telling yourself, giving yourself that motivation, saying, I can do this, I can do this. I understand that my message is there for serving, is for a purpose. There's someone out there who needs to hear it. And I tell myself, hey, I'm here to serve. I'm here to serve. This is not about me. So, whatever it is that I have to say, that message will come out, and the person who is ready to hear it will hear it. So, you have to really and truly take it away from you. And that's what I do, take it away from me. And I think of the persons who need to hear that message.
Yeah. And similar for me to deleted channel. I before a speech, I try to, and like I said, well, like Andrew shared before, we go deeper. But just to give you a little idea of some of the things that I do before even getting to the venue, I'd be relaxed. I'd be listening to some music, or I'll be goofing off. I like to goof off a lot. People don't tend to believe that because that's another thing. People look at you and think that you're always this person, not realizing that you have a life outside of a jacket and a tie. So I goof off a lot. So I might be joking with, usually it's my husband and child who I'm around because they're the ones who usually take me if I'm not, even if I'm flying, they're there with me. So I'm usually, playing, silly games with them. It's a part of relaxing. On stage, just before the stage, though, as my name is called, and for me to take that mic, I have to do deep breathing, right? And usually, if I'm holding the mic, then you might see a little shake, But I try, I try to control that, similar to the way Andrew shared with you before, by telling myself that, hey, my story, I'm here to share with the audience, and they're here to listen to what I have to say. There are moments when my husband would say to me, you know what, when you started, your voice was a little shaky. I said, you heard that? He would say, yeah, just for a moment. That was the nervousness in me. But I can tell you that as soon as I've completed the first sentence, all nervousness is gone, every single bit of it, just by completing the first sentence. And my first sentence is usually short, right? So it's just the body's reaction to the fear. And just spoke about the fear of speaking. And like I said before, like we've shared earlier, we really go deep into that. But that those are some of the ways we, try to manage that nervousness when we get on stage. And you will never know. You will never know unless I'm holding something at the beginning. And it's not all the time I will shake, but I do get jitters. But you will never know because you're there sitting listening to us. So you're not seeing it, but then our toes probably curled up in our heels, kind of a thing. But you will never, it's not something that you will see quickly and say, oh, she's nervous. No, because we have grown accustomed to it so much that we know how to manage it. And now we are teaching how to manage it.
That's so funny. One of the things that I've learned, though, even being trained by persons who are seasoned speakers, is that they themselves admit that they do feel nervous at different points. So it's a human thing, it's human.
Mm-hmm.
Studies show that one of the greatest fears is public speaking, and there are some people who, if they're given the opportunity to say a eulogy. They prefer to actually be in the grave rather than to
Mhm.
say the
To
eulogy.
really read the
So
eulogy.
it's crazy. It,
Yes.
it's nerve wracking. And again, I
Yes.
believe that it's based because we have been inclined to have the fear of criticism, the fear of criticism being one of the world's greatest six greatest fears. And when we speak, we're very much so oftentimes afraid of what other people will think about what we said. What if I stutter? What happens? What will they
Mhm.
laugh at me? Or
Mhm.
what if the things that I'm saying, if people don't agree with it?
Mhm.
And if you're going to place yourself in a space where you are public, you have to understand that the possibility do exist that you may face criticism.
Mhm.
It's a world that we live in, it's society, it's not new. We may think it's new because of social media and more immediate feedback, but criticism has always been there.
Mhm. Mhm. And I find too that if you are not able to, face criticism, it's going to be problematic for you, right? You have to be able, because we will all not like what you share. And if you're the individual who cannot listen to, what, I didn't like what you said just now, if that is going to get you nervous, angry, disappointed, then you will need a lot of work. There are many times I've shared information, many times I've exited the stage, and though I would have majority of the audience clapping, and hey, there's always this one person who would wait for me at the door, just to ensure that they catch me right at the door to say, well, then, what did you mean by that? I don't agree, or, that kind of thing. And if you get disappointed by that, then you will need a lot of work. You have to know how to manage criticism, and I call it constructive. It is called constructive criticism, but even destructive criticism too, you have to know how to manage, because you will have those persons too who, because you're so great at what you do, they will try to destroy you by criticizing what you do. You have to be able to manage that. So I say to you, don't listen to everything. Know what to listen to and know what to ignore. Yeah, but do not personalize it and become disappointed in self to lose your voice. All right, so this has been very good. And for more information about Voice Masters, you can see how our website is running across the screen there. It's voicemasters.biz. And if you want to email us, you can email us at vm@voicemasters.biz, or you can call either of us. I share my number, Andrew will share ours. My number is 786, or should I say WhatsApp or call 786-490-3452. And Andrea,
And my number, it's 904-604-0429. You can find it on my page. I believe it's linked also to the website in Voice Masters. Those
exactly.
are direct numbers.
Exactly. And do remember that you can reach out to us at any time. You can book a call with us at any time, and we will be willing to come on call with you to have further discussion. But today, I want all of you to leave knowing that your voice matters. And if you have not yet found your voice, let us help you to find your voice. Once you've found your voice, there's no turning back. Literally, there's no turning back. You have to know how to use it to continue to grow. And do remember that finding your voice does not mean that you have freedom of speech. All right. Any
Oh,
any last
yes.
word? Any last word before we go, Andrew?
No, that I think we've said a lot, and I do really appreciate you all for listening in. Deleted channels, Stephen. Thank you both for keeping us on our toes, asking the questions, and sharing the time with us, sharing this space with us. We do appreciate you and all that you do. And until next time, this is BTV, Beyond
Beyond the
the
Voices,
Voices
where
podcast.
impact meets inspiration. Be inspired, stay motivated, and continue to find that voice.
Have you been through something that changed you? A moment that tested your strength? A journey that awakened your voice? A story that the world needs to hear? This is your invitation. Voice Masters Global is calling you, yes, you, to be part of something greater. We're curating a life changing global anthology and we're seeking real people with real stories, stories of courage, breakthrough, healing, resilience, and transformation. Your truth could be the light that someone else is desperately searching for. This is more than a book. This is a movement, a global platform where your voice will rise among other powerful voices from across the world. This is your moment to speak, to share, to be heard. So if you've overcome, and if you've learned, and if you've lived through pain, joy, love, loss, and came out with wisdom to share, we want to hear from you. Call us today at 954-744-9599 or email us at vm@voicemasters.biz. Let your voice become your legacy. Join the Voice Masters Global Anthology. Your story matters. Your voice has power, and the world is waiting.